The book Henry's Night is inspired by Henry David Thoreau's Walden. But who was Henry David Thoreau? Born on July 12, 1817, Thoreau grew up in Concord, Massachusetts, the son of a pencil maker. In fact, Thoreau would later discover a formula for making no-smear pencil lead that helped his father's company become one of America's leading pencil makers. Thoreau was also much more than an inventor. He graduated from Harvard University in 1837, having studied the classics as well as science and math. Thoreau described his work in life to the members of his Harvard class as that of a schoolmaster, a private tutor, a surveyor, a gardener, a farmer, a painter, a carpenter, a mason, a day laborer, a pencil maker, a glass paper maker, a writer, and sometimes a poetaster. In case you're wondering what a poetaster is, poetaster is a word for bad or inferior poets. It was Thoreau's humble way of saying he dabbled in poetry. Of course, he was much more. As a naturalist, he loved to observe life in his environment. Throughout much of his later life in the 1850s, he would work as a surveyor. This was an occupation that suited him well, as he was able to hear birds and wilderness in general. It is this taste for nature that led Thoreau to build a cabin near Walden Pond in Concord, Massachusetts, on land that belonged to Ralph Waldo Emerson. Many believe Thoreau to be a lazy or a hermit, but in fact, Thoreau spent much of his time completing his life's calling as a writer and naturalist. Among his most famous writings include Civil Disobedience and Walden. It is from the life and stories of Henry David Thoreau that D.B. Johnson received his inspiration for Henry's Night. Johnson has also written many other books about Thoreau, including Henry Hikes to Fitchburg, Henry Builds a Cabin, Henry Climbs a Mountain, and Henry Works. Each of these books relay a story of Thoreau's philosophies and lifestyle. The books have received rave reviews from School Library Journal and Publishers Weekly, and have often made it to New York Times bestseller lists, receiving awards such as the Boston Globe Horn Award and the New York Times Best Illustrated Children's Book of the Year. Johnson's books have also received the Publishers Weekly's Best Book of the Year award. In Henry's Night, Johnson portrays a story from Walden, particularly from the chapter The Village, where Thoreau depicts Walden Pond and the village nearby. Johnson starts the story with a restless night and the sounds of the village that keep him awake. With collecting jar in hand, Thoreau slides the sounds of his environment and listens for the bird who sings the song of the night. He decides to venture to the meadow, where he might hear his song, and there collect some fireflies to help light the way. They float around him, blinking on and off like shooting stars. Following the rising moon, he trudges deeper into the woods. There is no path. Uphill and downhill, he follows the night bird's song. Each time he gets close, it stops singing. On his way, he collects specimens of frogs in his collecting jar, and he takes notes about the beautiful things he's observed. He takes notes on the stars above, the vegetation around him, and the animals he encounters. He even collects some tadpoles. Clouds erase the moon and raindrops bounce from his hat. Lightning flashes in his jar. The rain falls hard. The rain stops where the woods end, and all is quiet. To get home, he makes a raft of branches and pushes off into the mist. He bends down to scoop a feather into his jar, and at his back something flutters. Something sits on his head. It sings into his ear. The night bird has found him.